Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. ¿Qué onda, moros y morritas? There was plenty of Tijuana Light in my dressing room, so I helped myself, I'm not going to lie. It's good beer. Before I get started, I just wanted to extend my profound thanks to the Tijuana International Community Foundation and all of the volunteers who have been working so tirelessly to make this event such a success. It really is going unbelievably well, and I was very impressed by what I saw today. I'd also like to personally thank my new friends, Jose Galicote, Chief, and also Alejandro Bustamante. Yes. Without these men and their true vision and leadership, I really don't think that we'd all be here tonight together in this room talking about this. Tijuana Innovadora is really inspiring to me, specifically because it's focusing on the bright spots. It's focusing on the people, and it's focusing on the accomplishments of the people. And that's the most important thing. That's what it's all about. It's the people and what they do. And that's why I'm so honored and proud to be able to join you here and to be invited to Tijuana for my first time and to be welcomed so warmly. And I thank you very much for that. So I would like to share some stories with you tonight. They may not be as technical as some of the other presenters, because what they are is, what I'd like to talk about is the origins of Twitter. How Twitter began and some of the stories surrounding the beginnings of Twitter, because it had kind of a strange and circuitous path. And then I also want to actually talk a little bit about my own personal life, because I feel like I've learned some lessons so far that from childhood all the way on up that have stuck with me, that have really helped me in business, and I hope that you'll find them informative at the very best, and at the very least, maybe you'll find them amusing. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start out by talking about my wedding. So I married my wife in 2007, about 3 years ago, and as you can see from this photo, that was taken about 30 seconds after we got married. I'm very happy. This is the best day of my life. I'm smiling. My head is tilted back, as you can see, and my wife looks like she's just made the biggest mistake of her life. I've tried to tell her time and time again that mistakes can be good. Mistakes can turn out to work out. Sometimes they work out to be very big, successful companies. We're still married, and we're happily married as far as I know. And we'll get to mistakes in a little bit. I'll revisit mistakes because there's plenty to talk about there. But before we do that, why don't I do what I said I would do, which is tell you about the origins of Twitter and how it got started. So I got to think about how far I want to go back here. My friend and co-founder Evan Williams and I, we worked together at Google, and we worked on a project called Blogger at Google, and we worked there together, and we relaunched the service, and we really that was where we met and began collaborating for the first time. And we quit Google around the same time to rejoin the world of startups. We wanted to get back into creating new companies. And so what we did was we started a new company, and the idea for the new company was really cool. The idea was that you'd be able to talk into a web browser or onto a phone, and your voice would be converted to an MP3, and then those MP3s would be then broadcast out to everyone who has iPhones. I mean, everyone who had, this was pre-iPhone, everyone who had iPods. iPods were just getting popular. And we thought, oh, this is such a genius idea, because just like we sort of democratized the sharing of information on the web, we may be able to democratize the sharing of audio and start allowing people to sort of broadcast out to iPods. And so we decided to start a podcasting company. And the software demoed very well. When we told people you could talk into a web browser and that would be broadcast to everyone's iPod, they said, wow, that sounds like a great idea. Where do I invest? So we raised all this money. We started building a podcasting company. And then we realized that we didn't really like podcasting. We thought other people would like podcasting, but we were like never listening to podcasts and never making podcasts. And that was a problem, because one of the most important things that you can do when you're an entrepreneur is you have to be emotionally invested in the product that you're working on. You have to be a user of that product, you have to love that product, and you have to think about that product all the time. And it can't be something that you wake up in the morning and think, oh, I gotta go and make this thing again. So we recognize that as a problem. And what we did in 2006 was Evan, who was the CEO, took on the CEO role of this company. He said, you know what? The company was doing okay. It's not like it wasn't doing horribly, but we just weren't emotionally invested. So he said, you know what we should do is this. There's about 12 people in the company. He said, pair up, find a buddy, and take 2 weeks and just build something that you are inspired by. Build something that you want to work on. So around this time, I had become very good friends with one of the engineers at Odeo. This was the name of the podcasting company. And we had become very good friends, and so we decided to pair up. And we decided to build a prototype of what would become Twitter. And the very simple idea then is not too much unlike what Twitter is today. The idea was basically, the way that we thought about it then was, what if you could, when you look at if you use a piece of software like AOL Instant Messenger, for example, and you look at the status updates of all of your friends and colleagues, and you see that someone's out getting coffee, or someone's out sick, or someone's listening to this song, and when you just look at only the status updates, you get kind of a sense of what everyone's doing, and that's kind of interesting. Could we build a tool that just did that, but used SMS and mobile technology to do it? Because in 2006, SMS was just beginning to get pretty popular in the United States, and we were just starting to get turned on to it. And we thought, well, this is exciting. Mobile is obviously the future, and this idea is simple, and it's more in line with kind of the blogging type of stuff that I had been doing before. So we got together and we built a prototype of Twitter in 2 weeks. And what we did was we asked our friends to try it out over the weekend and see what they thought of it. So the first time, by the way, this typewriter is supposed to represent Twitter. The first time that I really was sort of trying Twitter out over the weekend, I mean, we had used it before this, but the first time I really had an experience with Twitter was my wife and I were living in this very small house in Berkeley, California, and there was a heat wave. And I decided that it would be a good idea to do a little home renovation, even though I'm very bad at home renovation. And so I decided to start with removing all of the wall-to-wall carpeting in the house that had been installed by the previous tenants. And the things that I was finding underneath the carpet, I don't want to talk about. And it was hot, and my back was hurting, and it was just, it was miserable work, and I wasn't happy. And my phone buzzed in my pocket, and I took out my phone, and I looked at my phone, and it was a tweet from my co-founder, Evan Williams, and the tweet said, "Sipping Pinot Noir after a massage in Napa Valley." And this is what I was doing. And so I just laughed out loud. And when I heard myself laughing out loud, I realized that I'm laughing. I'm emotionally engaged in something that I'm working on. This is exactly what I wanted to do. And that was the motivation just to keep working on Twitter. I mean, we knew somewhat of its potential, but really we were just having a lot of fun working on it. And that's what we did. So we kept working on Twitter, and then a few people started to use it. Really, for the first 9 months or so, not very many people used it. In fact, it was the subject of much ridicule. People thought it was stupid. A popular criticism of Twitter was, Twitter is not useful. To which my co-founder Evan Williams replied, neither is ice cream. Should we ban ice cream and all joy? And no, of course not. So what? So we're having fun. We're working on Twitter. It's fun. Maybe it isn't the most useful thing in the world. We didn't care. We were emotionally invested in the product. So we continued to work on Twitter despite all of these, these types of comments. And I think that's really important. I mean, if you love what you're doing, it's very easy to ignore all of these people saying all of these things about how terrible your work is, because you're like, I don't care, I'm having a blast. So it's very important to have that connection to your work. So we continue working on Twitter for a little bit longer, but then something happened. And this happened in Texas. It happened in March of 2007 in Texas at a technology conference called South by Southwest. By this time, there were, I don't know, maybe 50,000, 100,000 people who had heard of Twitter and were using Twitter. And this was the first time, many people at the conference were actually using Twitter. So this was the first time that Twitter was released to the wild, so to speak, and was out there, and people were using it at this conference. And it was just an amazing thing to see. We learned an incredible amount. There were two things that happened at this technology conference that made us realize that there was something bigger going on. The first thing that happened was I was sitting in and I had been going to this conference for many years. And I was sitting in one of a discussion panel. It was a big room with a discussion panel at the front, and we were sitting there seated. And all of a sudden, all these people just started getting up in the middle or towards the beginning of the panel, and they just started leaving. And it was almost as if like a public announcement system had said, everybody leave. But there wasn't a public announcement system. I couldn't understand what was going on. It turns out people were using Twitter on their mobiles and on their laptops to share information in real time that there was a much more interesting lecture going on across the hall.